Hi, everyone. Good to see you this evening. Hi, Kevin. How are you doing?
Hey, buddy. Good to see you too.
Great to be here with you, Kevin, and with everyone else here. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight, our subject for discussion is going to be the subject of fate and free will. I would say fate versus free will, but I think that certainly Kevin and I's perspective is that they aren't mutually exclusive. They both can play a role. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that and then invite you all to thoughts as well. But just from a high level, Kevin, why don't you tell me what your thoughts are on this?
Yeah, sure. I think that as we come into this particular life, we've chosen the life that we're living right now. We've been given an opportunity to review different options in the spirit world, and we've chosen a life that gives us at least the opportunity for our souls to evolve. And in doing that, we are provided with the opportunities through soul contracts with other souls, as well as life experiences, to learn those life lessons that we need to learn. And that's sort of my high level look at that. But we always have the opportunity to choose a different path that potentially keeps us from learning those particular lessons that we need to learn from a soul standpoint. But in doing that, we always know that we have the opportunity in other lifetimes, and other reincarnations, for our souls to experience those particular lessons that it needs to evolve. So that's how I see the difference between destiny and free will. Fate, I think, is a little bit can have a negative connotation to it, whereas destiny sounds a little nicer. But in my opinion, those are two very similar terms, and they're interchangeable as far as I'm concerned. But from a detailed standpoint, Steve, how do you feel about it?
Well, I think to the point of the words fate and destiny, I have a hard time with those words because I tend to get the feeling when I hear that when you say fate or destiny is that basically your life is cut out for you. You know that you're going to experience certain things in your life all the way until the time that you die, including the day that you die. It's all predetermined. Whereas I don't see it that way, and I know you don't either, Kevin. But
Wow.
that tends to be what comes to mind for me when I hear those words. So um, I tend to want to back off from those words a little and have everyone involved in the conversation not take those quite so literally, or at least in that context.
I think that's a good point, Steve. But I think the kind of cool aspect that you and I, in our belief system anyway, is that our life is actually a combination of both of those things, and so that's kind of the beauty of it. That it's not one or the other, but actually a marriage between those two things, fate and free will.
Right. And so, to kind of add on to what you're saying, Kevin, I agree, by the way, very much with what you're saying is that fate, if we want to call it that, and I can't really think of a better word for it, is part of our life that we have determined for ourselves prior to actually coming into this lifetime. So my take on it is that we had actually planning or a variety of planning sessions with others, with people we expect to come into this lifetime with that were going to play a role. Perhaps they were going to be a sibling or a parent, going to be an adversary of some kind. I think I had discussed that regarding reincarnation. But there's a certain setting that we come into. We have certain characteristics. We may be black, or we may be white, or we may be a woman, or we may be a man. A lot of these things that we really don't have any choice once we come into the lifetime. But in our perspective, Kevin and mine, we did have a choice, and they were chosen very deliberately prior to coming into this life to experience certain things. Um, and so I think that's an important part of what I would consider faith. You really have a lot of control once you come into this lifetime. Another thing would be your life lessons, as you mentioned, Kevin. You come in with certain soul intentions on things to experience, which you may or may not choose to experience or to walk into to learn from. Like you say, that's the free will portion. Is okay.
Right.
There were things that my soul, that I created as a soul that I wanted to experience or learn from, but the free will is I don't have to do it. I can go another route. And I
Right.
think I've heard it been said many times that someone could go through multiple lifetimes with the same life lesson, but they choose not to learn it, and so they have to repeat it again and again, lifetime after lifetime.
But you're right, Steve, also that there are certain aspects of our existence that we don't have control over, our race, our color, our sexuality, things like that, that are determined at the beginning and probably don't change throughout this particular lifetime. And so we don't have free will to change from black to white necessarily and things like that. And so so that there are more concrete aspects to our existence.
Right, right. And so another thing that I believe you mentioned also is so you've got these life lessons, broadly circumstantial. You end up in certain circumstances to make certain choices or not. But then there's also the aspect of the contracts, and contracts are things that are established and agreed upon generally between yourself and other individuals. So that those are the roles that you play and the circumstances that you play out in those roles with those people. Um, so I kind of see that as being the broad level of fate. Uh, but then free will, I think that, okay, so you have these circumstances that you arrived into and are given to you over time that you have control over, that you can change, are, I see them as being basically three things, is what you think. So certain things happen, and what you think has an impact on your reality. What you feel also has a impact reality you quote create. And then lastly, the actions that you take or the decisions that you make. These also have an impact on the reality that you experience, and it can create a variable experience. Based on these three things, your reality can be wildly different in one way or another. Anyway, that's kind of my take. It is encompassing the whole subject of fate versus free will.
One other thing too, Steve, that just came to mind is that we're talking about sort of a fabric of why we're here and maybe the purpose of life and things that we've talked about before. But there are so many other aspects to our human existence that maybe don't play a part in the solar evolution and things like that that enrich our lives in sort of a day-to-day or moment-to-moment experience that our reality or our choice of what our reality is plays a part in. And so maybe there are two levels here. There's this sort of the level of what we need for our soul's purpose in order to evolve. And then there's another aspect of it, which is just life itself and sort of this amazing human experience, which is diverse and actually created by ourselves. And, that's another subject for us to talk about, our own realities and things like that. But, I think our lives are a confluence of those two things.
Yeah, well, actually, that's an excellent point, Kevin. I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that that's something that's often overlooked by me, for example, is the fact that one of the main reasons that we come here, I believe, into this lifetime is just to enjoy an experience. And it doesn't have to be tied to any particular life lesson or contract or anything else. It's just to be here and experience existence on Earth. So I'm glad you brought that up because it's an important point.
Yeah, I mean, remember, even in elementary school, there's playtime and there's recess, and so that's a part of our experience as well.
Yeah. All right, great. I think we've covered the topic pretty well there, at least enough so that we can give some fodder for further discussion on the Facebook group page. So do you have anything else you'd like to add before we close?
No. I just that I'm sure there are camps out there, people that believe that the entirety of life is predetermined, and there are other people that believe that there's no predetermination of life at all. And I think we're sort of in the middle of all that. But we would love to hear those divergent views of free will versus destiny.
Good point. We'd like to hear some counterpoint here instead of just Kevin and Steve giving our largely similar perspectives on everything.
Yeah, agreed, buddy. Agreed.
All right. So anyway, thank you, Kevin, and thank you everyone else for joining us tonight. And we look forward to hearing more from you on the Facebook page.
All right. Sounds good, Steve. Take care.
Yep. Bye.